all, welcome, Lynne. Thank you so much for agreeing to join us.
You're welcome. Well, I also want to thank you for having me be one of the people who's going to participate in this crazy idea of a conference.
And I'm really glad you said that, actually, and not with that one. Obviously, I'm glad that you're coming. But one of my first things was, or first thoughts was, what on earth did Lynne think when this request came out, a year or so ago, which is this: we've got this crazy idea, we really want to celebrate the BGJ, the UKAGP want to host that.
Mm-hmm.
A very different approach, I think, to the normal keynote type of things that conferences do.
Right. Well, what I thought was, this is intriguing. I'm honored. The intriguing part for me was obviously this whole conference setup. When I was thinking originally about the conference, one of the things that really intrigued me was the idea that a paper that I submit could be a work in progress. And that the experience at the conference would flesh things out, and I would get a second chance to write about what got triggered by the conference. Because one of the things about writing is I usually end up writing very close to the deadline. That has to do with the problem. Partly I can't imagine the audience until I'm right up against the picture of the audience, which is the deadline for me. And part of it is scheduling issues. But whenever I send in a paper, afterwards I realize the things that are problematic and I wish I had said differently or wish I'd added, or where I would have gone had I had a chance to rewrite it. And now I don't have to sweat that. I sent it in. The chance to rewrite will come later with input from others. So just by overhearing the conversations.
There's a number of different stages through the conference where I suppose there's different ways that people can engage or not actually with whomever's paper it is. So one of the things that we've got at the opening dialogues, which I think is probably the best opportunity for that. And then we go into this idea of a world cafe, hopefully. Have you had any experience of a world cafe?
Never. But I don't want to say, before you talk more about that, I don't want to say that the best opportunity for thinking about my paper with others is at that opening. Because all the conversations that are going to take place, somebody will have a tidbit here about something that occurred to them in a conversation with somebody else over here that will matter to me in my paper. So for me, the flow of the whole weekend adds that for me. One of the things about any kind of conference is part of why we go is to feel a part of a larger world, connect with others that we generally only see at conferences, let's say, but they're part of our same world, the Gestalt world. But I never know what to say after I say, hello, how are you? But in this case, the hallway talk will be all these kind of informal discussion groups, people popping with ideas here and there, reactions. Doesn't even have to be to my paper. It doesn't matter. Anytime I'm hearing stuff talked about, that stimulates my own thinking. So I just figured the whole conference is like one huge hallway talk, only we do know what to say after we say hello because we're being stimulated by each other to talk about what matters to us in Gestalt therapy, what's triggered by what's been talked about before, what's in the articles. So it's one big, to me, informal conversation with little bits and pieces all along. Sounds like heaven to me.
And I guess what I'm really excited about is actually we've got quite a number of people still in training coming. I think, when I was training, I was probably at my most imaginative, my most creative, my most willing to take a risk. I'm most willing to ask the stupid question.
There's something else too, which is obviously the more we can support people to trust that their perspective has something to contribute to conversation and to writing, the better. Yeah. But when you're talking about trainees, I also want to say, when I was looking at the 4 articles that we're using, I saw 2 different levels in the articles.
Okay.
And one level is I saw Peter and Margherita tackling Gestalt theory issues at a higher level of sophistication than the articles by Joe and me. We seemed to be focused more on a boots on the ground level. The point for me is it means that no matter how thin your exposure to Gestalt therapy is, or how advanced, there's going to be something for you at this conference. And since you can kind of choose with whom you speak, it should be nourishing for everybody. Nobody should end up having to be left in the dust. The way you guys have structured it, it seems to me there's groups for everybody. There's conversations for everybody.
Is there anything you particularly want to gain on a personal level from coming along and joining in with it?
Can I sort of be self-centered and say how much I always love coming to England and meeting the Gestalt therapy world there? I love hanging around Gestalt therapists, period. Okay. You know, I live in these 2 worlds, the psychoanalytic and the Gestalt, and I get a lot of, increasingly the Gestalt world is very intellectually challenging. It used to be more what I looked to the analytic world for. But being around Gestalt therapy people is the most, it's a tired word, but kind of the most authentic hanging around I can have. Okay.
Is there anything else that you just want to add or say?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you guys are brave to take this on. But it's really in the true spirit of the founders of Gestalt therapy, because it's more anarchic than academically structured. And it'll, good stuff is going to come from these conversations.